In this video, we'll look at a little more advanced example of making macros. So, this is also available in your practice Excel sheet. You may or may not have the macros recorded in there, and that's something for you to do after you've looked at this video multiple times if required. So the way this is planned to work is that we have macro data entry sheet, which is something that you're seeing on the screen right now. We're going to put some date, we're going to put some kind of transaction details that a student would have, the kind of transaction that a student would have in his day-to-day life, and below that we're going to put, was it an earning or spending? So it could be a salary, that's like an earning, or selling a book or something, that's like an earning, or like in most cases it would be a spending when the student buys something or has some lunch or something. And then there's going to be the cost that was involved in that transaction. So what we want is all this data, once you've entered it, and probably with an action button that records everything into a separate sheet which we have macros to at the bottom, if you can see in the red color. That's going to be the sheet where everything gets recorded, and we want all the data to be in a tabular format. So every time I enter some data here and press record, it should be able to put it in the tabular format. So let's see how we're going to go about doing that. So that's the macros 2 sheet. We're going to put some date here, 2nd January 2016, and let's think of a transaction that's like Amazon Prime purchase, let's say, and it's obviously a spending, and let's put some amount on it, $12, and we want all of this to be recorded on macros 2 sheet right here. Right, so we'll go to the developers tab in the ribbon bar. We'll start recording a macro, but first we'll check if there's any other macro in there which we don't require. The use of relative referencing is really important here. We'll call this macros 2, and we have another option of making control plus shift plus any other alphabet that's yet to be assigned as a shortcut. So we'll assign control shift Q as the shortcut for this macro. And a bit of description for someone else who might come across this kind of macro. It takes data from the entry sheet and copies it to the macros sheet. Right, that's in table format, of course. So let's go ahead and do this. So this is the data you want to copy to macros 2 sheet, and we press Control C. We copy 2nd January. We go to the date tab, the date on our table, and then we press relative referencing, and then we press Control plus Shift plus down arrow key. So that basically takes you to the last element of that column, and then you press one more button down, and then you press Control plus V, and that pastes everything there. Then you go to the transaction details tab, Control C again, and then with relative referencing on, you had already put it to the right, and you are now pressing Control V again relative referencing on, bring it to the right again, and relative referencing off. This is very important. Relative referencing needs to be off here because you don't want it to go to the same row, you just want it to the one that we are commanding to. Then we've copied the next two, but then it might screw things up. We do a transpose of the table, and then we have it in the right place, and that's exactly what we wanted. So again, we press relative referencing on so that it goes outside the table and parks itself there, and then we bring it right beside the costs, in fact. And yeah, that should be more or less the end of the macros that we wanted. We could also do some more things, like inserting an action button in here, which runs the macro, so we don't need to really press the macro every time we want to run it. Like, we can press run like I just did, and it has 2 Amazon Prime purchases now. Let's try something else to get recorded in there. Let's say Domino's Pizza Party. Still a spending, still 12 bucks, let's say, and we run the macro using the macro run from there, and it's on there. Right, what next? Like I said, we could use some action button, so let's try and do that. So we're basically making a software of our own in a way, and we're assigning it to macros too. So that's the second macro that we just designed, and we give some number, some name to the button. Let's say record the data, maybe. So now whenever I put some data in there, or anybody puts some data in there, let's say 5th April 2007, and we call it, let's say this time, let's make it an earning. So they sold my vintage car, and it's definitely not going to be 12 bucks, let's say it was 3,500 bucks. And then record data. As soon as we press that, something happened, let's see, and all that data is in here, recorded in a tabular format. So that's another macros video for you. Quick point that one must note is the use of relative references. You have to be very careful when that button is switched on or when is it switched off, because this can really create a lot of difference in the way the macro gets recorded, and everything you do in there is getting recorded. So be very careful about that, and once you've done a good recording, it should work for basically every task that you want to repeat. Thank you.